Okay, so today I want to talk about my 5 tips on using natural light to shoot indoors. Okay, so this is a big one because if you're starting out in photography and you have watched my other video about natural light and you have golden hour and you're doing open shade, you're watching the sun, and then you're like, I'm so freaking amazing. I think I'm ready to be a wedding photographer. Okay, this is like my story. Just so hear me out. Okay, so you get all this confidence and you learn your camera and you have complete control over every single session. Then you become a wedding photographer. You go on a wedding day and the bride, like, she's getting ready inside. Like, don't you know you're supposed to be in golden hour for me to shoot you? That's what I thought. I'm like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? I don't know anything about indoor natural light. There's this like weird orange chandelier right here. She's closing the window because she doesn't want anyone to see her in her dress. Like, what do I do? So, these are the things that I've learned about how to use natural light, still maintain the style that you love without popping out the flash, and still and just still shoot indoors and not having to bring her outside. Now, I will say some occasions I do bring her outside just because, like, if she's getting ready at grandma's house and grandma has a lot of like wallpaper that's just not happening, I'll bring her outside. But in any other case, these are my top 5 tips on how to use natural light to shoot inside. Here we go. So the very first tip is to make sure you find a room with light colored walls. So if you are in a house and you want to shoot and it has windows and you're like, oh, I can do this, but you're in like a red room, it's not gonna be pretty. You're editing, you're gonna just like want to just jump off a cliff because, like we learned in other videos, light is constantly traveling. When light is constantly traveling and it hits a wall, guess what it's gonna do? It's gonna bounce whatever color this wall is back this way. So my first tip is to find a room with light colored walls, like the one you see here. My whole house is white because I like light and airy, even in my home. I want the sun to bounce from the window that's in front of me to hit the wall and back this way. So find a room with light colored walls. Okay, first tip. Second tip is find a room with a big window. The bigger, the better. Why? Because that's where the natural light's coming from. Okay, so kind of like how I talked about golden hour, the sun, the lower it is, the bigger the light source, the softer the light. Same thing with windows. The bigger the window, the more light can come in. It's a bigger light source, and the softer the light you'll have. So find a room with light colored walls first. Then make sure it has a big window. If it has just like a normal, like the normal room window, that's totally fine. If it has a big double window, that's even better. So, light colored walls, huge window. Second thing that I want you to do, it's going to totally blow everyone's mind that's not a photographer in the room, is I want you to turn off the tungsten lights in the room. So that like orange chandelier or like the can lights in the room, go ahead and start finding that light switch and turn them off. Okay. And everyone in the room, especially the homeowner, they're just gonna be like, I'm sorry, I thought photographers needed a lot of light. You're like, yes, ma'am, but I don't need the orange light because the orange light's gonna make her skin tone look really like Oompa Loompa orange. And I wanna make sure that the light coming from the window, that's the light that's filling her skin. Like, give her just a quick little lesson to let her know, like, I know what I'm doing. The first time that I turned lights off in a house that was not my own because I was shooting in front of a window, the lady was like, I'm sorry, I thought photographers needed light. I've never seen a photographer not want a lot of light. I immediately was like, oh crap. Like, am I doing this right? Like maybe she knows more than me. No. She is, like a tax accountant. She knows nothing about photography. You are the professional. You know what you're doing. do yourself a favor, turn off the tungsten lights in their room. And that is because you don't want mixed lighting. You do not need orange light coming this way. Your window light, which is going to come off a blue tint, come this way. Whenever you have one color light, which is daylight, your editing is going to be a dream. You can do it in 2 seconds, boom, 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 done. But if you're trying to white balance orange over here, blue over here, it's not going to be fun. You're going to be like black and white, but you're better than that. Just turn off the tungsten lights. Use the one light color, which is the natural light coming from the window. Okay, so that's my third tip for shooting indoors. Fourth tip is place your client in front of the window. Okay, so I'm sure you've seen that bridal portrait where she's like opening up the curtains, and I mean, that's beautiful. But if you are just wanting a clean portrait, place your client facing the window. So right now, there's a window right in front of me. My desk is all the way up against the window in my office. Why? It's because that has the best light. So if my desk, how I originally had it, was facing my French doors this way, you would see a huge shadow on this part of my face instead of like my whole face is just illuminated with light. So place your client facing the window so you, the photographer, your back is going to be against the window shooting. You're going to have the cleanest looking picture. And at the end of the day, your client just wants to look good. They just want to look good in the image so they can show it off to their friends. They're not going to care about the technicality or anything like that. They just want their skin to look good. And if they have dark circles or wrinkles or huge shadows making their nose look bigger than what it is, they're not going to like the picture. Okay? So place your client in front of the window. Your back is against the window shooting. That way they can have a lot of light filling in those wrinkles, dark circles, and things like that. So that's a huge tip. Your clients will thank you for it. The last thing, and then I have a bonus for you. The last thing that is a huge tip for shooting indoors is using a handy dandy reflector. Okay, so I usually show a huge demo in my workshops about this, but basically, like we know, reflectors bounce light back. So there's light coming this way, it's going to hit the reflector and it's going to bounce light back into you. So let's just say your client is facing this way, the window is to her side. I wish you could see, but oh, you can see a little bit. Okay, so you're going to see like a slight shadow just from like my nose casting a shadow in this way. But if you can get an assistant or someone, the mom, to hold a reflector on the opposite side of the window, you will see a huge difference in the way that your client looks because the light is coming, hitting the reflector, and bouncing back into her face. So I always bring a reflector anytime I'm shooting inside. It's a game changer, especially if you don't have light colored walls. Okay, here's my bonus tip. The best time of day to shoot inside is around lunchtime. So between like 11 and 1. Because normally the sun is highest in the sky and it's reflecting down on like a sidewalk or your porch or your concrete, and it'll bounce light into the windows. Okay, so that's kind of like a tip for you. Sometimes in the morning, depending on where the sun is setting and rising, or in the evening, you won't get as much sun in the windows. But at noon, like around lunchtime, between like 11 to 2, that sun is going to be high in the sky. It's going to bounce light on the concrete. The concrete's going to fill the windows, and that is the best time of day. So anytime I do an indoor session, like especially for boudoir, I don't schedule that around golden hour because it's going to be really dark in my house. I schedule boudoir sessions because they're inside between 11 and 1 because I know that that's going to be the brightest my house is going to be on that day. So that's just a little bonus for you. I hope these tips helped. I hope this does not cripple you to start shooting inside. Start shooting on your kids. Use your husband. Use your wife. Go out. Put them in front of a window. Put a reflector on. Turn off the tungsten lights. And just keep practicing. The more you practice, the more confident you'll get. So if you have any questions, head over to the Brittany Bruce Education Facebook group. I'm there every week, live, answering questions. Comment below, let me know what you think about this video. And if this is the first video you're seeing, go back and look at the natural light video and the other videos that I've talked about in this one, so that you can learn more, because the more you learn, the more confident you'll be. All right, guys, I had a lot of fun about this one. I'm going to make more videos.